social media not only enhances your brand and engagement, but it also gets your brand in front of thousands of your target audiences. For this afternoon in particular, we've invited a panel of seasoned professionals to talk about their experiences and insights on social media sourcing. So, panelists, if I say your name, please open your cameras. And let's begin with Mr. James Cirillo, Recruitment Marketing Manager at AFNI PH. So, if you're from AFNI, feel free to show James some love in the chat.
Hey guys.
Hello, James. We
Hello.
also have Miss Carla Bordon, Customer Success Manager at Hotpush. Hi, Carla. And we also have former VP of TA at Transcom Philippines and now the CEO of Bright Mango Solutions, June Abo. And of course, moderating the session for this afternoon is Mr. Max Armbruster, CEO of Hotpush and host of the Recruitment Hackers podcast. Hi, Max.
Hello, Blanche. Thanks for the warm welcome. Hi, everybody. I hope you can hear me fine. And I'm delighted to have this group of professionals talking with us for the next 20 plus minutes. We're going to talk about how social media has rocked our world, how it has changed the way we set up a recruitment operation. Because recruiting, the way I started, was all about hustle and hard work and hitting the phone. And I started in my professional career around 99, 2000, and people still have fax machines in the office. I didn't use the fax machine. I was on email already, but I saw it there as a relic of the past. So at the time, it was all about sweat and hard work. And now I think it's more about brains. And I think the composition of recruitment has changed. But I'm not gonna guess. I'm gonna just ask. I'm gonna ask our panelists, how has it changed in your world? And we're gonna ask a number of questions and try to get to the bottom of how a recruitment operation needs to adapt to this new world. But before, I just want to set the scene. Why are we even talking about this? Well, if you take the biggest job board of all, Indeed, the global leader in job boards, it does 9% or 8 or 9% of the monthly traffic that you, in terms of unique users, that you would get on Facebook or Instagram. And that's, I'm talking about the behemoth, the elephant in the room, Indeed. Any job board below that does less than 10% of what Indeed does. So that just gives you an idea of scale. When we're talking about reaching out to the masses, there's just no other place to go than social media. That is the place to go. That doesn't mean it's easy. It's not always pleasant. And we're going to talk about some of the operational pains that these vast numbers can generate. So I'd like to ask, maybe we'll start on the pain. We'll start on the pain, and if you could walk us back a couple of years back to what were some of the growing pains of adapting your operations to social media hiring? And I'll start with June, who has seen, I believe, maybe to set the scene, June, you can tell us, in your last job, you went from single digit social media hires, share of social media hires, to, I don't know what the number is. Maybe you can tell us, and think back a few years. What were some of the initial pains?
Okay, no, thank you, Max. I guess you're starting with seniority, since given my experience in talent acquisition, I've had close to 25 years being in recruitment. It's funny you mentioned about using the old tools in hiring, because I remember when I first started to prepare for a presentation, we were using acetates for our presentation. There weren't any PowerPoints back then. But yeah, the growing points from my standpoint is that when I first started with Transcom way back in 2015, the digital channel was basically a single digit from a applicant share standpoint and hire share standpoint. And partly the reason for that is we use social media back then just to post job openings, to post promotions, and nothing else really. And there wasn't anything to differentiate the messaging. And if I recall back then, the largest from a higher share and applicant share standpoint was that I have offsite was one of my highest. So offsite, for those who are familiar, it's dicers. Even before the lockdown, we had dicers roaming around, kidnapping candidates and bringing them to your sites. You now have employer referrals, and then the third that make up the three largest was of course vendors. So you have your official headhunters, and when I look at our 2015 data, employee, you have offsite at 31%, employer referral at 28%, and then you have vendors at 22%, and social media was around 7-8% during that time, 2017. Fast forward to 2021, just to close off at an entire year worth of data, social media has become our number one in terms of higher share, as well as applicant share standpoint. Then followed by employee referrals. And if you look at offsite, it's gone way, way down to the low single digits. Vendor has also gone down. A significant chunk of that actually went to digital marketing or social media. Pain point back then, changing the mindset of the recruiters, because they've gotten used to a certain way of recruiting. They know that if they send out dicers, those dicers would be able to get 5-10 people back to their site. So there was a lot of pushback coming from the recruiters. They weren't as savvy in terms of using their Facebook and other social media back then, because they felt that Facebook should be used for personal stuff. It shouldn't be used for sourcing. And then you don't have available tools in order to make sourcing and recruiting on social media as effective as we see today. So a lot has changed, and that's why we are where we are right now.
Yeah, we'll talk about some of this transformation, but I guess, to sum it down, it's a mentality, it's a mindset change. And you were talking about the dicers. That's the nickname for promo dicers. These are the rogue warriors on the streets. We're like grabbing people by the neck and pulling them in, right?
Yeah.
And I remember people used to. I mean, James, let's talk about your experience at AFNI and before, perhaps. Did you make use of promodizers, and can you describe to us what they were for you back then, and how that has changed, perhaps following the same trends?
Yeah, we did. Actually, it's the same thing that happened to us. The difference is the big three channel back then when I started in recruitment was especially for AFNI, it's ERP, the biggest of all. The second one is the dicer in terms of share of hires, right? The second one is offsite, which is the promo dicers, and then the third one was online. I think we had a 16 to 20% share of hires from online before. Then the big chunk would be 40% from ERP, and then 35% from offsite. We also utilize out of home advertising and recruitment partners as well, though it's not as big as others, the recruitment partners. Then when we started back in 2020, when pandemic hit, and up until right now, closing off the data is we're at 54% share of hires from online, 30 or 40 from ERP. Actually, we only have two channels right now that we're really pushing out there, which is online and then ERP. And then for online, the biggest chunk, like 80 to 90% of our leads are coming from Facebook. Yeah.
Wow. What took everybody so long? In the case of June, he said some of it was a mental block, or just habits of how you used to do recruitment and what it meant to do recruitment. Did you experience the same, or do you think there was other things that were slowing down the adoption of Facebook for sourcing?
Yeah, definitely. Not just in yeah, quite a bit on the mentality. Although what we did before then, we already adapted talk push back then. So the pain point back then was actually trying to get everybody to know the tool. and to actually rely on the tool based on in terms of sourcing, because Excel was the number one friend of everybody in recruitment. And in forms, like the physical forms, they're the best friends of people in recruitment. And even if I send it on email, okay, can you give me the form so I just can, like, those things. So right now it's changing, because we can't see everybody face to face. They have to little by little adapt to technology, and where they can see their applicants, because if you can't see them, you can't call them, right? So
For the people who are listening in who don't know what TalkPush is, actually, you can look it up. It's the company that I founded, and we do specialize in helping companies automate social media sourcing. So that's, I guess Excel was the tool beforehand, and we have to move some people away from Excel. Excel is great, by the way. We're not Excel haters, but right, it's the one, it's kind of like a fixed snapshot in time. You don't go back to an Excel sheet from 2 months ago. So it's a bit static. Maybe this will be my transition to introduce Carla, who works at TalkPush. So do you find that Excel is still, the recruiter's number one friend when they do social media sourcing? And are you fighting against Excel at TalkPush?
I have a bit of like dilemma also with Excel. It's a love and hate relationship, especially with our clients currently, because I think apart from the mentality of the people and adjustment, I think one of the main factors why we also had to switch to like virtual hiring is because of the pandemic. And as James mentioned, we can't see a candidate's face to face, so really have to, and the businesses have to continue, so really have to switch to a process or a recruitment process that can work for everyone. So I think in terms of like social media share, based on the data that we were able to capture as well in TalkPush, you can really see an increase for social media share of hires. So for the last 2 years, we actually started by 20 to 25%. And I can also see the trends in terms of the clients that I'm working with, uh, in terms of like year to year goals for social media share of hires, it's also increasing. And if I am also to check the data for 2022, I think we're at about like 50 to 52%. Same data that James also shared with AFNI in terms of like social media share of hires. So yeah, I would definitely say.
Okay. And so June?
Just going back to your point about Excel, I think the reason why recruiters fell in love with Excel in the first place, it's because it's a way to consolidate your data points, right?
Yes.
And eventually come up with reports. But right now, the modern recruiter has also evolved from Excel to a more modern solution in terms of visualizing data. So taking point, for Transcom, we had to create a specific team that deals with data points, that deals with analytics and visualizing that data to make it actionable. So we've moved from Excel, Google Sheets to Google Suites in order to make, again, visualizing data easier. And I know when we first started with TalkPush, you guys had an excellent reporting component, reporting solution embedded in the TalkPush solution, which again allowed us to make informed decisions based on the data that's being gathered.
I was thinking back about your comments on the promodizers. What was great about the promodizers is you know exactly how many hires each one of them brought in, right? Because they physically brought them in, so you can't get it wrong. That's the ultimate tracker. Tracking on social media maybe is a little bit more. I mean, I think it's easier at scale, but I think it is still quite technical and something that companies maybe are still figuring out. Can you share how your operation or your client's operation has has worked on the problem of tracking the source and going back to the initial ad, the initial click? How do you what kind of progress have you been able to make over the last few years? And how much progress is there still to make? And I don't want to throw this question at anyone in particular. Raise your hands. Nobody wants to take it.
All right. There's been significant progress. Again, given from where we started, where we track individually using Excel, and it's a manual process. So, say if someone applies on Facebook, they comment and they leave their details. You have a recruiter that monitors your Facebook post, and then would then copy paste that information on Excel, and they know that it's coming from Facebook, right? Very tedious, very time consuming, and of course it's manpower heavy, because if you have multiple candidates commenting on Facebook and you're maintaining multiple Facebook posts and accounts, then that means again a lot of man hours just to get things done. One of the things that I like is if you click on a particular ad, or you already know that you know where your candidates are coming from a sourcing channel standpoint, whether you're using QR codes, whether you're using links, that automatically marks your candidate from which sourcing channel they saw your ad. That's one of the things that I've learned to appreciate, because again, I know that the data points of sourcing channels is more accurate. Where it needs more improvement, it's to your point, what particular ad prompted them to click on your and make them apply, right? And the reason for the value here is that if they click on a particular ad seeing you promoting about values, then that means, hey, you need to create more content related on values, because that's the content that drives engagement and application. Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. That's the future, and I think in Talk Push we can sort of do that by organizing them by campaign, but we can do better for sure. James, a question for you. June said that in his team, he had to build a whole new analytics team to handle just the sheer volume of data. So that's something that maybe we didn't have in recruitment, 5-10 years ago. We didn't have a dedicated analytics team. I don't know if you have one of those as well in AFNI, and if you've seen other changes in the composition of the team in the years you've been there. How has the social media wave affected the way you organize and you build your team, your TA team?
Oh, well, before, yes, we didn't have an analytics team. We had a recruitment marketing team, which is composed of one person. So the way it works, and before, you're usually divided for volume hiring. You have people who generate your lead. You have people who are sourcing, and you have front desk, you have TAs, you have recruiters, etc. Right now, in terms of composition, like there's been an upskilling in terms of people, so you get to upskill people who are in the front desk before, who are test admins before, who are sourcing people before, and get to upskill them to a level of a recruiter. So there's no more recruiters or sourcing and recruitment anymore. It's just leads generation. You recruit like a big number of recruiters, and then your back end, which is your job offers and such. There's also a need, and we already have an analytics team, which is right now, I think we have one, but before we had two of them. I think we're hiring for one right now. But there's been a change in a way that we try, or at least we try to eliminate admin tasks, the admin tasks that, like for example, phone screeners calling people and verifying their minimum qualification, and then okay, you pass the minimum qualification, you can go to the next step of the process, which is the front desk, where you're going to sign forms again, and then stuff like that. Right now, with the presence of social media and integration, you want to make sure that this or the tool is that can track these people, and you want to equip your recruiters, to be able to just focus on building connection and candidate experience. That's our focus right now, and that's what you want to go through, right? Most of the analytics are being taken care of a team or the leaders, to check on the performance of their team. And so the recruiters right now, instead of pasting on 500 Excels, right, and 500 cells in Excels, you could just look at your screen, take the information you need, call this candidate, and build connection. That's, I think, the change has been right now, with the
It-
pandemic.
And the way you framed it earlier, you said, we don't do sourcing and recruiting anymore. We have recruiters and we have lead gen. And
Yeah.
and lead gen, in my mind, lead gen is sourcing is the same thing. But I guess in the old ways, sourcing is more of a hitting the street and right.
Yeah.
And yeah, going in the shopping malls and grabbing people by the sleeves and say, come in here.
Yeah, we still have people in the employer referral program, but they mostly do, again, leads generation in terms of soliciting to people, giving feedback to our employees, etc., etc. But it's not like a whole sourcing team with phone screeners back then, and then all of these phone screeners will just verify the minimum qualification and invite them going to the site. Right now, since you're already talking to them, why not recruit them at the same time? And so we upskill this phone screeners to, for them to become a full-fledged recruiters.
Right. Yeah, Carla, did you want to add anything to the changing composition of the team, or if not, I could ask you about some of the new trends that you're seeing on social media sourcing that have been picking up.
Yeah, I would just like to echo like what June and James mentioned, that right now, based on the people that I am working with the different clients that I'm handling, I can really see that they tend to invest more or hire more people on teams that can help them improve their recruitment processes. And since right now social media is really a big hit in terms of hiring, in terms of recruitment, a lot of the companies tend to invest more on people in the marketing side or in recruitment marketing side, for them to be able to generate more ads, advertisements that can attract or give them more leads. And aside from that, once they're able to attract more leads, then definitely they need to hire again, like, or they need to focus on people that can help them put that data into a report that would actually make sense to executives or to business. And yeah, so I would definitely agree to what James and June have also mentioned.
The idea of insourcing recruitment marketing is still relatively new. I mean, a lot of companies have been in the BPO space, been doing it for a long time, but it's still relatively new. It used to be you would ask an agency to do everything, but I guess the lead buying, it doesn't go through agencies so much anymore, right?
Yes,
I see some nods. Yeah.
I think new companies right now tend to have like this recruitment marketing team, different from the branding marketing team that handles all of the branding materials for the whole company. So for the recruitment marketing department, they just really focuses on how they will be able to attract more leads, get more leads, what different things or like agenda that they can still do for them to be able to get qualified people to be included with it.
June, you're such a good student with your hand up.
I just want to point out that being a universal recruiter with multiple skill set, that's an ideal, but you also have to factor in scale, depending on the number of people you're hiring and in which geo zone location. It's interesting because recruitment has evolved in terms of key niches and skill set. That, to your point earlier, recruitment marketing wasn't part of that skill set, desired skill set for recruiters a few years ago, but now it's one of the most required. It's almost similar to what happened in human resources, which turned into people operations, where you have talent management, total rewards, HR and compliance, and then workplace safety. If you look at talent acquisition, you now have the sourcing specialist, you have the recruitment marketing team, you have the reporting and data analytics team that looks at the market trends and analysis. And then you have, of course, the standard volume recruiting and corporate recruiting. All of these things, again, niche specialization that once you start gaining proficiency in each of these niches, it just helps prepare you to be a better overall TA executive.
That could spell the end, the death of smaller companies, right? If everybody's specializing and getting an extra edge in productivity, then can the little guys survive? And what can they do to adapt to the new world where there's these armies of recruitment marketing specialists backed up with analysts that give them numbers so that they can optimize each campaign day by day? What can the little guys do to stay competitive on social media when sourcing?
I think that's where tools come in. That's where automated solutions come in because it's a level playing field. Whether you have 100 recruiters supporting you or 5 recruiters, if you have an automated solution, that 5 recruiters can do the work of 100 recruiters.
Yeah. And I think to add on to that with the volume right now, like I can give you an example for 2020, we the highest we receive in terms of volume of leads in a month is 25,000 leads, and we only have 10 recruiters. So how, even if you are a big company, how do you get to build connection with 25,000 people in a month? So it's best if you'll be able to segment this, put them all in one place, automatically segment them into which buckets they're going to be placed through, and then have someone specialized on that part of the segment to talk to them and build connection. Because I'm pretty sure that if you segment them, then people would actually know, oh, who do I talk to first, who do I talk to next, stuff like that.
Did you say 25,000 leads?
25,000
for 10 recruiters. All right. If you guys want to do 25,000, 2,500 leads per recruiter, if that's the kind of environment you want to work in, how do you get a hold of James? Where can people find you, James? We're going to close it on these impressive numbers and then move to the second part of the
That's the highest. Oh, well, you can get in touch with me through my LinkedIn, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
James Cirillo at Daphne.
At Daphne.com, yeah.
We'll put the links up. And June, what's the best way to get a hold of you?
Through LinkedIn.
LinkedIn, same.
Yeah, it's the same.
Great. Great. And Carla, do you want to stick around for the next portion? Julian and Blanche are going to talk about how TalkPush. We're going to do a little bit of product placement, after we've invited all these beautiful people to come and listen to our guests. We're going to talk a little bit about our product and how it helps to convert a lot of traffic, thousands of leads, into dozens of conversations and a handful of good hires without human intervention or with minimal work on the engagement front. So thank you very much, James and June and Carla, for joining me for this conversation, and
Thanks,
coming
Max.
to the Recruitment Hackers.
Yep.
Blanche, over to you.
Thank you. Thanks, Max. Thank you for that lovely discussion. It was very insightful. If you want to ask some more questions, I think someone's going to share their screen and you will be able to see the QR codes of the speakers. You'll be able to connect with them anytime. We'll share that later. But of course, social media sourcing is here to stay. And this is why a lot of companies like Transcom, AFME are investing in a variety of solutions, in TalkPush in particular, that can reduce the very manual work, especially around capturing and managing the thousands of leads that they get on social media. In the Philippines in particular, Facebook is the #1 platform to be. And that's why TalkPush has adapted to that and became the very first recruitment chatbot to be built on Facebook Messenger, and today engages with millions of conversations every day. So this is why I wanted to invite my colleague, Julian, to show you some of TalkPush's capabilities. Let's start with how, are you seeing our screen?
Right. So thank you so much for that, to all of the people also that joined us in our talk today. So for this discussion, I would be showing you the different ways that you can capture leads through social media, and also how you can capture them from paid ads. I will also show you after this how you can see all of those captured leads in our CRM and how you can make your lives easier by using our automation. All right. So with that being said, I'll just share you my screen and get right to it. Okay.
So let's just set a bit of context when we say organic traffic. These are the candidates that are pretty much stalking your Facebook page and then asking to see any available
Correct.
jobs. So this is what we wanted to show you. Go ahead,
Correct.
Julian.
So for everyone on the call, what you're seeing in my screen now is like a digital version of how life used to be, wherein candidates would go to your different sites, go to your buildings, and then simply ask questions or even submit their resumes so they can apply. These days, what candidates would do is to go to your Facebook pages and not only ask you questions, but apply from there. So the way that you can capture organic leads is by allowing them to send you a message. And one of the sayings that we do have here in TalkTours is that every hire starts with a conversation. So let's start a conversation with this chatbot, right? So once I click on send a message, it would bring you to the chatbot of your page, right? And as you can see here, the chatbot is already interacting with me. It's asking me what I want to do today. And it allows me to also ask it questions, right? But the important thing here is that the chatbot would allow me to browse the different vacancies and campaigns that you're currently running. For this instance, I clicked on browse vacancies. And since I clicked on that, the chatbot would ask me where I currently am in. So it also helps you filter out where candidates are applying from, which cities they're currently in. For this one, I clicked on Philippines and it identified that I'm in Makati right now. So it would only show me the vacancies that are within this vicinity. So as you can see there, Makati, front-end software engineer in Makati, customer success, so on and so forth. Once I see all of these vacancies, I can click on apply. And then from there, the bot would start capturing my data. So it allows me to submit my contact details, as well as, again, to clarify which city that I'm in. And then, even though this is a chatbot, it would verify if all of the things that I have submitted is absolutely correct. Once verified, then I can start answering the questions that you, the recruiters, would like to ask for that specific role. And again, this is very customizable. The questions are not a one size fits all, so you can ask different questions for the different roles that you would be running, right? Once all of this is set, the candidate can even view their profile, and then all of this data will be stored in the CRM right away. And I'll show you this later on. So with that being said, that would be the organic flow of where your candidates would flow in. Now,
Yeah, organically, great,
sorry,
Julian. But then,
correct.
how about if you want to reach more of your target audiences? Of course, paid ads are the way to go.
Correct.
How about the
So
candidate
there are
journey?
also paid, there are also paid solutions, such as the traffic ads and also the lead ads, right? So what you're seeing in my screen now, since we're done talking about how candidates can just interact with your Facebook page, what you can see now is a traffic ad that is specific to just one campaign. Because of course, what you would want to do is target candidates for specific roles, right? For example, this one is for the graduate training program. Since I clicked on apply to this, you can see here in my screen that it's showing the job card for this role alone. So it doesn't bring back the candidate to the previous organic flow wherein it would ask all of this information over again. This way, the candidate is focused on the role that they want to apply for. And at the same time, you're saving the candidate a lot of time as well, since you're responding to the candidate right away, you're letting them apply to that role they were interested in the first place. And then one of the other benefits here is that the chances of you losing this candidate is a lot less, right? The moment that the candidate applies, they show interest. So the most important thing to do is to communicate with that candidate right away. And with the use of our chatbot, with the use of our AI system, then you can already interact with the candidate or someone, well, for this instance, it's a chatbot, is already interacting with your candidate, keeping them warm, making sure that they're interested, right? And I know that all of you guys are very busy, and I know that some of you guys may get tired throughout the week, but this chatbot never rests. So even
Julian,
on
for
holidays,
this ad, let's say I'm just scrolling through Facebook. Is this ad something that pops up? How am I being targeted?
Right. So the ads would target you with, depending on what you like on Facebook, or the interests that you would share. It's really dependent on the Facebook algorithm, right? But let's say, Blanche, you want something that's more efficient in capturing leads, right? That's where the lead ads come in, right? And that's what you can see now. So a while ago, what happens here is that the call to action is to click on that apply now button. It leads all of the candidates that would click on this ad into the chatbot. For this one, if you want to capture a little bit more data, then running lead ads is one of the best things to do. Because if the candidate clicks on the apply now button, it shows them this form, which asks the candidate questions similar to what the chatbot would do. But what it does is that it allows you to ask another set of questions to the candidates as well, right? Now,
So I have a question, Julian. So
go ahead.
let's say the lead ad form already captures the data.
Mhm.
What does it look like in TalkPush? Will I have to go answer the data again?
Right. So once you answer all of this in this form, and the system already captures your contact details, the next thing that would happen is that the system would automatically send a message to you inviting you to proceed with your application. And this is how it looks like, right? So for each campaign that you run, you can actually set up a different set of messages, inviting the candidates, telling them that they've completed so on and so forth. But for the sake of this example, as you can see here, there is a code that says interview page URL and messenger interview link. Now, once the candidate fills this form out, they're sent this message, and all the candidate needs to do is click on either one of those links, and then they would already be led either to the chatbot or to the landing page. And then, similar to what I showed earlier with the traffic ads, the candidate doesn't have to go through the organic bot flow, wherein the bot would ask for their contact details again, and then it would ask which position they want to apply for, so on and so forth. This one is also a direct approach, and that allows your candidates to push through with their application for that campaign. All right. Now,
Mhm.
when you're running these ads or running these posts, of course, one of the things that would come to mind is that, okay, candidates are flowing in to my Facebook page, candidates are flowing in to my lead ads and traffic ads. So sometimes that data can get a little overwhelming, but no worries, because we're capturing all of these into TalkPush, right? And this is basically how it looks like. As you can see here, all of these candidates applied through different sourcing channels, right? Some of them applied from those Facebook lead ads or traffic ads. Some of them came in through your page, and some of them even apply through your different job boards, right? But no worries, because all of that data is stored here. So as you can see on the right, this is the candidate's profile. Um, their contact details are saved, and then all of these are candidate attributes connected to questions that you ask them, right? So as you can see there, the question about LinkedIn, what my LinkedIn link is, so on and so forth. It's
Julian, I have a
all
question.
right there.
Since you mentioned that you could connect with Talkers, should connect with the different sourcing channels, is there a way for us to see which channel it came from, so it's
Yes,
easy for us to track it?
actually, that is a good question. So here in the application details, you can already identify which source a candidate is coming from. This candidate applied through Messenger, so we know that this candidate was organic. They went to your Facebook page and then they pushed through with their application. Let's say they're coming in from a lead ad. This would then state lead ad, and then you can also see the lead ad ID here in the other information area, right? So from there, you can identify which lead ads work or which lead ads are the best for sourcing candidates, so on and so forth. Another thing that I would like to show here in the CRM is that you can identify which campaigns candidates are flowing into. So we don't just jam them all in one system, right? All of these candidates um, are segregated depending on what job card they chose. Like you saw earlier, there are different job cards that the bot is allowing you to apply to. This one, you can segregate or just choose which ones you would like to view or which candidates you would like to view. And then we also can segregate them depending on which folder they're currently in. So as you can see here, it also shows you how many candidates are in a specific stage. Now, the good thing about these folder segregations is that the candidates would, you, the recruiters, would know how many candidates are in each phase. And also, you can map this out the same way as you've mapped out your recruitment process. All right. Now,
Backpush tracks that. Could you also track how many leads are coming in from, let's say I wanted to see which is my top performing channel. Is it social media? Is it job boards? Is there a way
yes.
that I could track that?
Yes. So we also have analytics for that. We can filter out which campaigns you want to look into, as well as which sourcing channels have worked for you the best, so that you can focus on those or put in a little bit more effort in those that are lagging behind. Now,
And Julian, say
Right.
I wanted to re-engage in like 6 months to everyone that I rejected. Can I do that?
yes, absolutely. So you can also set parameters within your campaign, which allows you uh, to either block candidates from applying again since they've already applied before, so that there wouldn't be duplicates. You can also set parameters wherein candidates can only apply after 6 months of being rejected, or sometimes if you're feeling generous or if you're feeling nice, right? You can even allow candidates to send multiple applications, and keep trying and trying. Now, another thing that I would like to talk about is a solution that we have for all of you. So June mentioned a while ago that the only way those small companies can adapt is through the different tools that they can use. We are a recruitment automation platform, and we are a tool that helps you automate a lot of your tasks. And this is where Autoflow comes in. This solution allows you to automate different steps of your recruitment process. So from filtering them to sending messages to the different candidates. So let's say you want to set parameters such as only getting those candidates that have at least 1 year experience for that role that you're hiring for, and also if they're at least a high school graduate, right? You can set that parameter so that all of those candidates will push on through to the next step, and then those that don't fit those qualifications yet can be placed in a pooling folder so that you can retap them in the future. Now, another thing to keep in mind with this autoflow is not that it's not just moving candidates from folder to folder or through your recruitment process. It can also allow you to automatically send messages to candidates. And also, if ever you're running some assessments, we can also help with that. We can put in those assessment links on the messages that you would have, and then you can set parameters wherein if a candidate passes the prerequisites, then we move them to a specific folder and send them these assessment links right away, thus saving you and your team a lot of time, right? Another thing that it can do is it allows you to automate your scheduling, right? So if ever the candidate will not have to go through another assessment, it also allows you to send a scheduler to all of those candidates instead. And again, it would go through the same flow wherein it is an automated message that would be sent out to all of the candidates that pass your prerequisites. So again, save your time, automate a lot of your process, and you will have a lot of free time to do more important things. All right.
Just to clarify, Julian, for the qualifications, is that something that we could set up? Is that based
Yeah.
on our qualifications? For example, 2 years minimum BPO. Is that something
Correct.
that we could
Correct.
do?
So as I mentioned earlier, this is something that is absolutely customizable. You and your team can set these parameters yourselves, so that it will always fit or mirror whatever recruitment process you have. Okay, so that's more or less it for me. If ever you guys have any other questions, perhaps you can contact Blanche. We can set up a demo for this and we'll get right to it. Okay.
Yes, thank you, Julian. And with that, we also have an upcoming webinar that is focused on how to create ideal workflows using automation. You're very much welcome to join us then. And of course, thank you everyone. Do you have any questions before we end about what you saw on screen? Any question for us or any of our speakers? If none, this is one of many webinars that we are launching. So if you'd be interested, the next webinar that will be happening on March is the Recruiting for Millennials on Instagram this time. And if you'd like to see more of the product, you can book a demo with us. Just scan the QR codes that you see on screen. If there aren't any more questions, we'd be very happy to customize a demo for you. So what you just saw was the tip of the iceberg, I would say. What we really do is customize and get to know your company, get to know and understand your pain points, and then customize a demo that is specific to your recruitment process. And with that, thank you everyone for joining. If there are any other questions, feel free to connect with each and every single one of us, and see you all at the next Recruitment Hackers event. So let's just have all of the speakers on screen again. And thank you everyone for joining us. Thank you, and I think we can say goodbye. Bye.
Thanks,
Thank
Blanche.
you.
Thanks, everyone. See you
Happy
again in the next
hiring.
Recruitment Hackers.
Happy hiring on
Thanks,
Facebook.
James. Thanks, June.